Welcome back. A new University of Florida poll finds President Trump up nearly 40 points on Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. In Florida, the former president holding a rally near Miami later tonight, where he is expected to receive an endorsement from Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who was once his press secretary. Newt Gingrich is with me for the rest of the hour. Newt, your thoughts on this and the fact that Trump keeps avoiding or intentionally not going to these presidential debates and doing rallies nearby. Tonight we'll hear from Sarah Huckabee Sanders endorsing him at another rally.
Well, I mean, if you were ahead by 60 to 21, why would you show up to debate? And why would you have people who are at 2 or 3 or 4% getting free TV time to attack you? Trump knows that if he's not at the debate, the number of viewers will be dramatically smaller. And he knows that if he's not at the debate, their punches will be relatively ineffective. And he has absolutely nothing to gain by going to these debates.
Yeah.
So, you know, he's not going to do it. I said this from the very beginning, that it would be foolish for him to do it. That frustrates, you know, his opponents. But, you know, this is not a game. This is a serious struggle for power in an enormously complicated country. And people who want to be president have to figure out how to get there. And they have to figure out what works. And Donald Trump has now had, since 2015, 8 years to be a nationwide figure, to have an organization in every part of the country, and as you point out, to have people in key places like his former press secretary, who has a natural bias for him. I would be very surprised if Trump is not in a position to be the nominee and to actually, by Super Tuesday, have the votes literally committed that makes him the nominee de facto. And the Republican Party ought to recognize that. And we should also realize one of the results of yesterday, this is going to be a real fight. The left is going to have huge amounts of money. They're going to have the teachers' unions, the other unions. This is not going to be a walkover no matter what the polls say.
Yeah.
And at some point, they need to focus on beating Biden, not just beating each other up.
Yeah, and you wrote the book Beyond Biden a couple of years ago. I guess, what should we make of the fact that we keep expecting these, you know, red waves and we're not getting them, you know, from 2020, 2022, and now yesterday?
Look, I think it's a real challenge. I hope that the Republican National Committee will take seriously going back into places like Ohio and to some extent Kentucky, although Bashir was always popular. So that's not as big a shock. But the Ohio referendum is something to study. And Virginia, which I think by any reasonable standard we should have won. And so the question I'd want to ask is, what did the voters think the two parties were saying in Virginia? And what did the voters think was being said about Republicans on abortion, in particular, in Ohio and in Kentucky? If we don't solve this, we have two great challenges. We have a huge money problem because the Democrats now just have dramatically more cash. And on the specific issue of abortion, they think they have found the specific issue that will keep them in power. And they're clearly going to campaign on it. And we don't today have a very good answer to that.
Yeah, it's a great analysis. Newt, I want to get your take on the speaker, the new speaker, Mike Johnson. You have a new op-ed about it and this government funding battle and the debate over aid for Israel. You write for Gingrich 360 about offsetting aid for Israel with spending cuts. And I like what you write in your op-ed. You say, simply put, Mr. Johnson has rejected the Biden administration's huge bill that would lump 5 different issues and $105 billion into one vote. Tell us about the speaker. Can he push back on the tsunami of spending and the White House's vetoes?
Look, he doesn't actually have to push back. He managed to put together a majority. They have passed aid to Israel. It is now sitting out there as a bill from the House. All he's got to do is say no. You want aid to Israel? Here's a bill, and it's actually paid for. And I think this principle is really important. We're not where we were when I was Speaker and we balanced the budget for 4 straight years. We're in much worse shape. We have a much bigger debt. We're paying much more interest on the debt. And the Biden administration, of course, wants to cheerfully give away money it doesn't have and just borrow more and more from our grandchildren and great-grandchildren because they've already borrowed everything from our children. And I think that the country, at Gingrich 360, we run a project called the America's New Majority Project. In our polling, it's very clear. The American people believe that any additional spending should be offset by cuts. And frankly, when you have a $6.2 trillion budget, that's the number, $6.2 trillion, you can find offsets. The Speaker has found one. It's cutting some of the money out of the Internal Revenue Service. If Biden doesn't like that, he can offer another one. But if I were Speaker Johnson, who's done a good job so far, I would sit there pleasantly and say, guys, we got a bill here. I'm not going to go and negotiate with the Senate and compromise. I'm not going to go with the White House and meet whatever your weird demands are. You want to help Israel? Accept the bill. You don't want to help Israel? Then we're going to know who, in fact, I mean, the idea you favor the IRS more than you favor helping Israel, I suspect for most Americans will seem weird.
You know, I'm surprised we haven't heard more from Chuck Schumer in the Senate about all of the anti-Semitism going on across the country. He's been staying eerily silent. Israeli President Isaac Herzog writing a letter to American universities urging them to publicly condemn Hamas's October 7th attack. University of Pennsylvania told the FBI about anti-Semitic threats on campus. The school's president said that some of their staff have gotten, quote, disturbing anti-Semitic emails threatening violence against the Jewish community. Some of those threats naming a Jewish organization at the university and an on-campus housing unit, Newt. And yet, in the face of all of this anti-Semitism and attacks on Israel, the White House comes up with a plan to counter Islamophobia.
Well, look, I mean, the Democratic Party is deeply split now. There is a pro-terrorist wing. When I did Laura's show last night, she had a segment where she had 5 members of the Democratic Party on the House floor, all of them in favor of Hamas, all of them basically pro-terrorist. As you know, yesterday, the House voted to censure Congresswoman Tlaib for her comments about literally destroying Israel. And I think it's very important to understand that the most dynamic part of the Democratic Party today is the hard left, and the hard left is very anti-Israeli and indirectly very anti-Jewish, and are prepared to be for the elimination of Israel as a country. And I think Schumer is in a box. His population opposes terrorism. Key members of his party favor terrorism.
Unbelievable. Newt, I'm so happy you're sticking with us this morning. We'll have more from you coming up.